Though it's been more than 3 months after Nigeria's general elections, the challenges faced during the elections are yet to be resolved. The election petition courts are still sitting to address several issues raised by aggrieved parties who are challenging the outcome of the polls, while Nigerians are anxiously waiting at the federal and state levels for the outcome. According to the European Union, the 2023 general election was flawed with so many irregularities recorded, such as voter apathy, lack of punishment for electoral offenders, interferences by outsiders during the counting of votes, and the intimidation of voters. Some of the recommendations by the European Observation Mission includes the protection of voters in future elections, establishing a robust operational framework for elections, and addressing impunity through an electoral offences court.
So while the 25th February elections were held on schedule, a lack of transparency and operational failures reduced trust in the process and challenged the right to vote. Voters assigned to new polling units had difficulties in identifying their correct polling unit, and the conditions in almost half of polling units observed did not ensure the secrecy of the vote. In 16 states, the mission noted incidents of violent attacks on polling units and indeed on INEC staff and harassment of voters. The counting procedures were negatively impacted by overall poor understanding, particularly in completing forms, and chaotic and overcrowded conditions in collation centres observed.
Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission promises to consider all the recommendations as provided by the EU mission for future elections.
As far as we are concerned, we are going to present our reports. We are going to make our submissions to the court. We are going to present what we know and what we did during the elections to the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal and all the other election petition tribunals, and then they will make a determination on going forward. But as far as the commission is concerned, there were so many positives to this election. There were also significant challenges and problems with the election. We are going to address those challenges and those problems.
It will be recalled that the federal government discredited the European Union's conclusion on the 2023 general election, wherein it faulted the modalities by which the conclusion was reached. According to the Special Assistant to the President on Special Duties, Communication and Strategy, Dele Alake, the EU's report is an attempt to ridicule the Nigerian electoral system and its umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Although no election in the world is perfect, but many believe that the federal government can improve in the process of conducting a free, fair, and credible elections in the future. Speaking with Dateline on this development, a legal practitioner, Mr. Ashim Abioye, and a public affairs analyst, Comrade Waid Lawal, said the federal government's reaction is based on the fact that it is the major beneficiary of the 2023 election and such is expected of them. They, however, advised the government not to throw the baby away with the bathwater, but pick lessons that will help in strengthening Nigeria's electoral system.
Customary, or let me say it's become a practice that the Independent National Electoral Commission will give accreditation to observers, local and international observers, for the purpose of monitoring the general elections. So the 2023 elections were not at all an exception. So if the European Union has come up with a report as an accredited observer, so I think all the stakeholders in our electoral system should look at it one way or the other. Definitely those who benefited from whatever ugly observations as noted by the EU would not want to agree with the European Union. While those who suffered defeat in the election will want one way or the other to align with the observations of the EU as some of the factors responsible for their defeat at the election. But for whatever it is, I think the electoral umpire in the country and other stakeholders in our elections should look at the reports objectively and pick for us those things that may, one way or the other, help improve on our electoral system.
Since they came here to observe the election, they have every right to ventilate their opinion. So their opinions is their opinion. The federal government, Nigeria too, they have their own opinion. You don't expect any government to accept any decision of an external agency. They would definitely reject it. But whether would they like it or not, that is the opinion of European Union. And the opinion is bounded on those who observe the election. But the reality is that our election is far from free, fair and credible, except we want to deceive ourselves. The government should do the needful to make sure that our election is free, fair and credible, so that we have a genuine democratic process.
They called on the federal government and other stakeholders to wake up to their responsibilities, noting that finding solutions will not mar the electoral system, but help in ensuring that the dividends of democracy meet every nook and cranny of the country. Oluwa Tobiloba, Odu Nuga, for Dateline.